This week's Torah portion is Miketz, and it means at the end. It talks about at the end of 2 years when Pharaoh had his 2 dreams and he could not find anyone to interpret it. The cupbearer, however, remembered that Joseph, while he was in prison, him and the baker, they both had a dream, and Joseph interpreted the dream for them, and just how they said it would happen, the dream actually happened. So the cupbearer said to Pharaoh, "Remember the time when you threw me in prison because I didn't do my job the right way? There was a Hebrew boy whom Potiphar had in the prison. He was in charge. Both I and your chief baker had dreams one night, but we didn't know what they meant. The Hebrew boy Joseph told us the meaning of our dreams, and it happened just the way he said it would. He told me I would serve you again, but the chief baker, things didn't turn out well for him." So Pharaoh sent for Joseph. When Joseph came to Pharaoh's palace, Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I had a dream, but no one can tell me the meaning. My cupbearer told me you can interpret dreams." Joseph answered Pharaoh, "God is the one who gives dreams and the meaning of dreams. It is nothing to do with me." Pharaoh then told his dreams to Joseph. He said, "In my dream, there I was standing on the bank of the Nile River, and I saw 7 cows, fat and fine-looking, came up out of the Nile, and they grazed in the marsh grass. Then I saw 7 other cows come up after them, poor and very ugly and lean-looking. Such ugliness I have never seen in all the land of Egypt. The thin and ugly cows ate the first 7 fat cows. After they had eaten them, they could not tell because they were thin and ugly as before. Then I awoke. I went back to sleep, and I saw also in another dream 7 ears of grain, full and good, came up on a single stalk, and 7 ears, withered, thin, and scorched by the east wind, sprouted up after them, and the thin ears swallowed the 7 good ears. Then I told it to the fortune tellers and magicians, but no one could explain it to me." Joseph told Pharaoh that God had shown him things that were about to happen. He told Pharaoh, "The 2 dreams are one. They are the same, and that God showed them to him twice because it is important." Joseph told Pharaoh that the 7 cows and the 7 grains represent 7 years. The fat cow and the good grain are 7 years of plenty of food and great harvest. The 7 thin cows and withered grain represent 7 years of famine and no food. The famine will be great so that no one will remember the 7 years of plenty. Joseph not only told Pharaoh the meaning of his dream, but also the way to preserve food during the 7 years of plenty that would last until the 7 years of famine were over. Pharaoh was pleased with Joseph's idea to store food for 7 years. He made Joseph ruler in Egypt and put him in charge of all he had to make sure everything that Joseph told him would be done. So during the 7 years of plenty, the land of Egypt produced great harvest. Joseph built storehouses in every city next to the fields, collected food from everyone. When the 7 years of famine began, Joseph opened the storehouses, and all the people in Egypt and other nations came to Joseph to buy food. Even Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to buy food, but they did not recognize him because he spoke to them in the Egyptian language and had someone translate what he said to them in Hebrew. That is a short summary of the lesson of the Torah portion, Miketz, for this week. And the lesson discussion is about God's promotion. So God used Joseph to interpret Pharaoh's dream and also promoted him as a ruler in Egypt. Joseph was the second in command to Pharaoh in all of Egypt. He was the second powerful man in Egypt. His life was changed. He went from being a slave in prison to the only person Pharaoh would take advice from. Do you remember what Joseph told the chief cupbearer in last week's Torah portion after he told him the interpretation of his dreams? Joseph told the cupbearer to remember him. He said, "Tell Pharaoh about me so I can get out of this prison." However, the cupbearer did not remember Joseph, and it wasn't until 2 years later when Pharaoh had his dream that he remembered Joseph. Genesis 40 verse 14 and 15 says, "Only keep me in mind when it goes well with you." This is Joseph talking to the cupbearer. "And please do me a kindness by mentioning me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. For I was in fact kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing that should have put me in this dungeon." The cupbearer did not remember Joseph at all, as I mentioned. It seemed a little selfish that the cupbearer didn't remember Joseph, but I believe that God wanted to teach Joseph a lesson. God wanted Joseph to learn to trust him and to know that he was in control even though he was a slave in prison. I just wanted to share with you guys just a short summary and lesson discussion for the Torah portion, Miketz, and just want to encourage you guys to, take the time to read the Torah portion and just take one point or one principle from the lesson to be able to teach your children that no matter what is going on in the world, no matter what we see happening, God is always in control. If you would like to learn more about teaching your children the Torah portion, you can visit our website at torahforchildren.net. Until next time, shalom.